If you're a fan of Family Guy, you've probably got a favorite character. But did you know that your favorite character might say a lot about you? So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the main characters of the show to see which you may identify with the most. Herbert fans need not apply, the FBI has already been informed of your location. So let's start with the main man himself, Peter Griffin. Being the de facto main character of the series, it's understandable why a lot of people would find him to be their favorite. It's the safe choice, kind of like picking Mario in Mario Kart. Honestly though, it's more sensible than picking any of the Koopalings. But it could also mean that you don't like to overthink things. Sometimes the simple things in life are the best, and Peter sure does love the simple things, drinking and eating.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna upping my price to $12.50.
The messy hair, the drooping eyelids, the untucked shirt, this is the factory setting version of Peter. Peter's the most notorious alcoholic on the show, which could explain why people are such big fans of the character. Not to say any of you guys are alcoholics, mind you, but it's kind of like watching a car crash. You wouldn't want to be involved with one, but watching one from the sidelines can be a little fun.
Do you know that my dad once called me a mistake? That's messed up, man, wow.
But maybe you don't gravitate towards Peter's drinking. Well, how about his eating? Sure, his body may not be runway ready, but think about it. This dude can eat anything he wants, and he usually stays the same size, more or less.
Now, as always, add butter to taste. Delicious!
That's the dream, isn't it? To be so carefree with eating that you can just consume the most artery-clogging food imaginable and face no consequences? For us, that'd be shedding a few years off our lives, maybe even taking a foot or two. But Peter? He only dies when the show says it's time for him to die. It's hard not to wish for that kind of freedom.
I couldn't take your dream away. Heart attack from you, buddy. You're the mini stroke, one with the real heart attack talent.
But a slightly less self-destructive habit of Peter's is always trying to be the funniest guy in the room, something you may resonate with. People who tend to like Peter the most could be considered the class clown of your friend group, always willing to do whatever it takes to get a laugh out of the gang.
What do you call a woman who takes forever to cook breakfast?
I swear to God, Peter.
You call her Lois.
Granted, that doesn't mean your comedy is going to hit with everybody. Comedy is a fickle thing, and there's no universally accepted norm of what's good comedy and what's bad taste. But that doesn't matter to you. You're going to tell that joke no matter what the reaction's going to be. Just keep your head down and keep charging forward. No wall of modern sensibilities can stop you.
Why do women have boobs? So you got something to look at while you're talking to them.
But all this fun loving comes at a cost. Not everyone can be on your wavelength, and not everyone can match your freak, so there's probably a high possibility you struggle with maintaining strong relationships, whether it be with friends or loved ones.
Shaq!
After all, you gotta look after the one who matters most, and that's you self-centered goblin. Yeah, it's true you're probably causing more trouble than solving it, but at least you usually know when you're wrong and try to do everything you can to make it right. Eventually. There are just a few things that come a bit higher on the list than treating people with kindness and dignity.
Hold on, Lois, I'm gonna grab a real quick hot chocolate. Warm up my bones.
Overall, if Peter's your favorite character, you're most likely the lovable goofball of your group, capable of creating the biggest laughs along with the biggest headaches. Every group needs its comedic relief friend, and everyone needs that one friend who's going to get them into more trouble than they bargained for. Gotta keep you on your toes, but those surprises are what life's all about.
Peter, did you steal these from a roadside memorial?
They didn't love her as much as I love you, Lois.
But what does it mean for you if Cleveland Brown is your favorite character? And we're talking Family Guy Cleveland, not whoever he was when he was the star of his show. A whole different guy as far as we're concerned. The main character syndrome seems to have more or less worn off of Cleveland, but there's still enough character flowing through him to see why he might be someone's favorite. For starters, with him probably being the least featured friend on the show, Cleveland kinda just has a go-with-the-flow attitude about him.
All right, well, if you have a sudden change of heart and you want to chase us down the street as we're pulling away, you know where to find us.
This guy isn't getting any episodes centered around him, so he's pretty much gotta say yes to everything if he wants screen time. But there's nothing really wrong with just going with the flow. Let everyone else deal with the specifics while you just coast your way from one activity to another. And people still treat you like you're the wise one of the group. Pretty sweet deal if you ask me.
Now take me back to Virginia so I can put some bacitracin on this and pork my wife.
But because Cleveland is a bit more on the passive side, it does lead to him putting up with a lot. It's not always shown in the best light, but one could look at this and see a man who's unbothered by most shortcomings in his life, which isn't a bad way to go about things.
I cheat on you and you apologize to me? Cleveland Brown, you are pathetic.
But there is a difference between being easygoing and spineless. You gotta know which one you are, and if you happen to be the latter, may I offer you this comfy chair in the corner of the bedroom? That's a bit much, but if you're gonna be a fan of Cleveland, you have to be able to differentiate between the two. But like many kind and carefree people, Cleveland does have a limit. Perhaps you feel similarly to him, where all you want is just zero drama, but you'll also be ready to crack some skulls if it ever comes down to it.
You violated the sanctity of my marriage.
And if there's one way to describe Cleveland, it's flexible. Not in the physical sense, those toes don't seem like they've been touched in many moons. But Cleveland is a man of many hats, and you may find yourself filling a multitude of roles depending on the situation.
All postmen have mountain climber leg muscles. Those will be our focus here.
They really that strong looking?
From deli shop owner to cable man to mailman, Cleveland's always found a way to bounce back from any little setback and find a new role or identity. It's probably why you're a fan of his in the first place. No one believed he could carry his own show, and yet he proved all the naysayers wrong. For a little while. Now he's somewhat proving all the naysayers right. But you always believed in him, and if Cleveland can find multiple ways to succeed, then surely you can too.
That's when the street sweepers come around and hog the right lane. You switch to the afternoon, you'll be done in half the time.
But one of the biggest vibes a fan of Cleveland Brown can give off is that they're most likely the dad of their friend group. The one who looks out for the group and makes sure everyone has everything they need and is always there to offer some advice.
Wow, Cleveland, looks like you got the most popular place on the block. You really fixed this thing up.
Cleveland just gives off major dad aura, and if you relate to him, chances are you do too. I bet people always ask for you to host parties, or at the very least, you're the one always offering to clean up when the party's over. Every group of friends can benefit from having one, even if it means you won't be seen as the wildest or craziest one in the bunch. I think that's a-okay with Cleveland. He knew when it was time to walk away from the limelight and not be the center of attention, as if he had a choice in the matter.
Hey y'all, come and get your A&W cream soda floats.
So in conclusion, while Cleveland may not be the flashiest or most exciting character to have as a favorite, there is a bit of a low-key chillness to his vibe. You might be the most responsible in your friend group, but you're always down for pretty much anything and prefer to roll with the punches rather than get worked up about any little thing. He's the choice that people might be the most confused by, but they just don't know Cleveland like you do. That guy has it all figured out. But what if Lois Griffin is your favorite character? It means you're seeking attention because this is no one's favorite. Kidding. Keep your triangle-shaped noses pointed away from my eyes. In reality, Lois is kind of the sleeper pick. Maybe she wasn't back in the day, but nowadays the show's found ways to make Lois far more interesting. So her being someone's favorite isn't out of the realm of possibility. If you're a big fan of Lois, you may relate to her overwhelming desire to be seen and appreciated.
Can't I have one thing in my life? Is that too much to ask? Well, what is it? Do they hate me?
Ah, crap, there she goes narrating my internal monologue out in the open. Lois lovers may find themselves connecting with her because they too have a strong need to be liked by those around them, to feel rewarded in a way that gives them validation in the public eye. You may find that to be true, but I'm gonna bet most of you aren't committing felonies to get that praise.
Since I am a good person, I will take care of your cat. Now open your mouth.
But this desire definitely isn't unwarranted. After all, you may find yourself being pushed around and unappreciated in your life, whether it be in your job, your friendships, or your family. Lois is often in a similar boat, being expected to do everything and fulfill everyone's little whims without so much as a thank you.
I want you all to help with the Christmas chores.
Come on, Lois, you know the deal around here. We split everything 0-100 like most couples.
Yep, it's all listed pretty clearly in the marriage contract. You're supposed to ignore your wife and mother for years until you can use her as a target for blame in therapy. It'll happen to you too, bucko. But sometimes a sorry isn't enough. You need people to be on their hands and knees, begging you to forgive them. It's that little chase of power that makes the crazy start to come out.
You're all gonna see how hard it is to make Christmas happen around here without me. I am packing my bags and I'm out of here.
Because make no mistake, Lois is crazy. But not in a maniacal way like Peter or a wild card way like Meg. Lois's insanity is born from this constant feeling of inadequacy, fueled by always being looked down upon and walked all over. Like Lois, you probably have a limit, and it's probably been broken on more than one occasion.
Maybe you could change your review.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I can't do that.
All it takes is one little slip. One little slight that doesn't really matter in the bigger picture of the world, but it matters to you, dang it. And you're not above letting people see that crazier side of you, because if anything, it's a nice little learning experience for everyone involved. Poke the bear and you get the horns. Bears used to have horns back when that saying was invented. Don't bother Googling that.
I opened your locked closet and put on your wedding dress. I ate yogurt in it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, oh my God.
And why shouldn't you be a little crazy? You carry a lot of responsibilities and duties in your life and have to put up with a lot of crap alongside them. And you're expected to just put on a brave face and smile through it because someone has to. That being said, hopefully the kind of things you have to put up with aren't as egregious as Lois's experiences.
Now that's a big league slide, huh, Coach?
Ah, damn it! I I think it's broken.
If this kind of stuff is your lived experience, then you are probably within your legal right to do something about it. Not gonna say what that something is, but you know, you could do it and none of us would judge you. But you may also be the bigger person in some scenarios, realizing that people who wrong you are probably working through their own nonsense. It doesn't absolve them of their actions, but it does make you understand where they're coming from. It's a thankless job to be a noble knight, unless you were talking about back when actual knights existed. Then you'd get like a horse or something as a thanks.
I picked you, Peter. And to me and our kids, you will always be a winner.
So if Lois is more your fancy, you're most likely waiting for your day of recognition while you spend your days protecting and holding others up. Your patience can definitely be tested, however, and God help anyone who mistakes your passiveness for weakness. But what does it mean for you if you find Joe Swanson to be your favorite character? This one is a bit tricky to decipher, as Joe's gone through a massive character shift over the years. If you started watching the show during the more recent seasons, you found a version of Joe that is usually relegated to being the butt of the joke in most situations. Every friend group has one, and while you may laugh at his misfortune, chances are you might not be too different yourself.
Hey, Chief, it's Swanson. I quit. Joe Swanson. I don't know if Ray Swanson's quitting.
You may not realize it, but there's just something about you that people find funny. Hopefully it's something that involves laughing with you while you're around and not while your back is turned. But regardless, you're mostly okay with this role because it makes your pals happy. And if that means a little self-deprecating, who are you to get in the way of good comedy? I can only hope the jokes don't come at the expense of your own self-esteem. Like helium, we are drastically running out of that stuff.
Joe, you're alive! Are you hurt? I'm not sure.
But there's a trait that used to define Joe, and that was his capability. No matter the odds, no matter the setbacks, Joe was always going to try to do what was right, and it's that honorable nature that drew a lot of people towards him. If Joe is your favorite, you most likely relate to the underdog story and would also do whatever you can for your loved ones.
The baby's hospital bill drained all our savings, so I've had no choice but to take this job.
And you'll do what you can for your family by any means necessary. Even if that means subjecting yourself to the most dangerous, soul-crushing line of work out there, the service industry. You've never yearned for the sweet release of death quite like when you don't get a tip. But it's that willingness to subject yourself to less than ideal circumstances that make you stand out amongst most. Some other guys may have the title, but you show the signs of being the one true family guy.
Look what they did to me. My legs are useless now.
But much like Joe, you also tend to be the moral compass in the friend group, the one who manages to ground the rest of them and remind them of what's right. They aren't easy shoes to fill, which is probably why Joe doesn't always wear them nowadays. But back in the day, Joe truly was the best of them.
I got the money.
All right, Joe!
But I lost the perp.
Even in the face of great success and admiration, Joe knew that if he wasn't doing things fair and by the book, then he didn't deserve all that glory. It's a tough pill to swallow, but Joe fans might just be the ones to remind others that the only true victories come from honesty. Kind of explains why he wanted to become a cop. Either that or he just has a huge speeding ticket kink that he's finally getting to live out. If you relate to him on that level, it might be time to start looking for your inspiration elsewhere.
I'm sorry, everybody. I've let you all down.
But an admirable trait about modern Joe that might resonate with a lot of people is the drive to do the things he wants to do, whether or not he has the support of his friends and family. We all have that one fixation or hobby in our lives that other people just don't get, but that isn't going to stop you from enjoying it to the fullest extent.
Should really be 2 contests, one for each side of town.
I think one's the right amount of contests.
Don't get me wrong, there are definitely some hobbies that should be kept to yourself, and the only thing coming out of your mouth should not be about that interest. That's a good way to get a new secret group chat created with everyone in it but you. Chances are it's already happened. I'll leave you to stress over that possibility. But who cares? Can't a person have a hyperfixation? Chances are you're going to enjoy what you enjoy regardless of what anyone thinks, which makes you happily content with knowing you don't need anyone else's approval.
What were we talking about? Pumpkins?
Shut up about the pumpkin!
While the character of Joe has changed a lot over the years, that just means he covers an even wider range of possibilities that one can enjoy or relate to. Classic Joe is a beacon of respectability and honor, while newer Joe is a bit more of a joke, but there's still sprinkles of happiness throughout his life that make everything worth it. Whichever of those versions you gravitate towards, I think you can all agree on one thing. Joe really needs to scream more.
I said I'm not hungry! Where is it now, huh?
But the original owner of the title No One's Favorite Character in Family Guy probably goes to Meg Griffin. Once the show's resident punching bag and source of major abuse, Meg has come a long way in character evolution, and we think that's reflected in the number of new fans she's seemed to amass. So if you're a fan of Meg, chances are you possibly relate to her on some sort of level. Maybe it's her tragic, somewhat neglected life that catches your sympathy.
If this is you, what's your birthday?
March 23rd.
I have no idea if that's correct. Good day, Shay.
But if you haven't been mistaken for a barrel yet in your life, you're probably doing pretty okay for the most part. It's so wild to see the eldest child with the most egregious case of middle child syndrome. Chris gets way more attention than her, and Stewie still gets coddled for being a baby, leaving Meg to kind of just go about life in her own way. Maybe you relate to that on some level, and Meg shows you that you can still make a life for yourself in spite of that. It may require you to fake your death, but honestly, the world could use a little more of that anyway. If Tupac and the Queen of England can do it, then so can you.
That's it. I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna live. I'm getting out of here.
But maybe you just love an underdog, someone who was dealt a bad hand yet still finds a way to succeed despite that. Meg definitely fits that description in both an in-universe way and in a bit of a meta way. She was saddled with a raw deal in earlier Family Guy, being kind of unlikable and forgettable. It wasn't until the later seasons that Meg gained some more agency, allowing her to flourish and be capable in her own right.
All right, Meg, remember what I taught you.
Relax my throat and make eye contact?
No, the fighting stuff.
Maybe you too have been pushed around for far too long, and it's about time people were put on notice. Non-violently, of course. Sweaty Clam does not condone any sort of violence towards others that causes their entire face to melt off. Now, if you can find a way to do that non-violently, then by all means, go right ahead. And just remember what you learned from Meg. Even the unlikeliest of people can pull off impressive feats when they put their mind and weird body to it.
What's your problem, dude? You've got major issues.
But Meg's an underdog in more ways than one. She's actually surprisingly good at a lot of things, like sports, for example. Maybe people took the time to talk to her and listen to her interests, they would have known about this long ago. But that requires talking to Meg, and I'm sure you can see the problem with that. Nevertheless, maybe you like Meg because of her untapped potential, something you might feel in your own life.
If I win today, I'm going to the Olympics.
Why is this the first we're hearing about this?
It's not.
Just think what someone like Meg could accomplish if she just had the backing and support of those around her. I'm sure a lot of her fans feel the same way, knowing they could achieve great things if they were just given the time of day. Being a Meg fan comes with the desire to be seen, and we see you. Yes, you right there. Crumbs all over your chest. Wipe those off. You're doing great, but seriously, wipe those off.
I'm off to train for the Olympics.
See? I've been training since I was Lacey Chabert.
But there's also an uncomfortable truth that comes with being a Meg fan, and it's that people-pleaser mentality. You might find yourself taking the brunt of the people around you's frustrations, putting on a brave face because the people in your life require it. Maybe that's why you like Meg so much, because she's sharing in a pain you may go through yourself.
Have either of you guys been listening to me? Do you both just have your heads up your asses?
That doesn't mean you can't lay the smack down every once in a while. You're the truth nuke that threatens to decimate their entire lives, but sometimes you struggle to believe that would be the best option. Even if you end up choosing to be passive, you still have your ironclad morals, and you're sticking to them. It takes true bravery to do something like that. Or masochism. Hey, if you're able to get some pleasure from this torture, then who am I to stand in your way?
It's just my lot in life to provide. Maybe if I feel bad, they don't have to.
So to summarize, if you're a fan of Meg, you probably love cheering for the underdog. Maybe because you like to see the downtrodden succeed, or maybe it goes even deeper than that. Maybe you see yourself in Meg's suffering, but if she can make it work and still find ways to be happy, then maybe you can too. Does she have to be so weird about it though? Clearly some self-reflection could do wonders for the girl. And you might surprise people if you tell them your favorite character is actually Chris Griffin. Not that anything is wrong with that choice, he's just a sleeper pick is all. Chris is a curious case because he's a lot of things, and it could be any number of those character elements that draw you towards him. First and foremost, the guy is honestly a little weird. Like deleting your browsing history every day kinda weird.
People would pay money to watch a husky teen sit on food?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah, the kid's a freak, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily one. If you are, that's cool too, just be self-aware about your freak side. But maybe you don't necessarily relate to that aspect of him on a deeper level, but you do share a bit of a morbid curiosity about the weirder sides of humanity. You might not get the same weird pleasure out of it as Chris does, but you might just have a fascination with the weird, and Chris serves as that looking glass for you to peer through. Maybe peer through it from a distance, however. Knowing Chris, you're probably gonna get pink eye if you get too close.
My dad fell in the shower, so we kinda need the money. Thank you.
But Chris is also simply a teenage boy, brimming with awkwardness and impressionability. Since that little gerbil in his head, which he calls a brain, is still developing, he often finds himself not really making his own choices and kinda just going with the flow based on what other people say. Don't want to tire that gerbil out too much with all that thinking, do we?
You're dreaming.
Dreaming?
Yay, no consequences!
Huh, didn't take him for a hunting knife under the pillow kind of guy, but that just proves there's so much more to Chris's character than you may think. Chris is pretty gullible and can easily be convinced into going along with whatever plan you have in place, and if you're like that, that doesn't necessarily make you dumb. You might just enjoy having everyone else take care of the details and plans, pretty content with going with the flow on any adventure. And less time thinking about the details means more time you can put towards the more important things, like remembering to breathe.
Now, what is your biggest takeaway from our travels?
That you can't take a good nap with keys in your pocket.
But since you're so content with just going along with what other people tell you to do, you might find yourself in some sticky situations you'd rather not be in. If you're not going to think for yourself, you're just going to have to play the cards you're dealt, and unfortunately for Chris, he's often playing with his cards backwards.
Let's just say she and I slept together under the same roof.
Keep in mind that's his own mother he's talking about, but that's not what we're psychoanalyzing here. If you are having those thoughts, that's well above the pay grade of a talking animated clam. But because Chris is so willing to just go along with what people say, even if they're straight up lies, it lands him in hot water that he only barely finds his way out of most of the time. That's just what comes with being a teenager, and maybe in a way, you're either going through that now or looking back on those times with sympathy towards Chris. So start thinking for yourself before you have to start taking pictures of your mother in the shower. Classic high school pratfalls.
I can't. It's my mom. I'm not a dirtbag.
But despite your infatuation with the weird and your tendency to listen to what everyone says, you still manage to retain a heart of gold. Chris has a lot of shortcomings, but he's always been shown to have good intentions and can pull through for someone when they need him most. Some might call you a pushover, but others will call you a hero. It just depends on which ones you're trying to impress.
You would really look after my kids for me?
Of course I would.
You're a wonderful man, Chris Griffin.
It turns out Chris is actually one of the more honorable and respectable characters in the show, and maybe that's something you appreciate about him. Sure, he may stumble and trip his way through all the hurdles put in front of him, but he's making it to the end because he knows people are counting on him. He's often a bright light in a pretty dark show, and there's a good chance that if Chris is your favorite, you may share that same drive to do good in the most off-putting way possible. You've earned yourself a little weirdness, so wear it proudly, at least 20 feet away from me.
But I know someday you will make an incredible father. Goodbye, Chris.
So if you like Chris the most, you might enjoy walking on the wild side a bit, even if things get a bit too wild for modern man. You're a bit more passive than most, but you still maintain a solid moral compass and will do what you can to make the people around you happy. And what does it mean if Glenn Quagmire is your favorite character in Family Guy? It means the authorities have been called and they're already on their way. Just joking, but maybe go ahead and give your search history a quick little sweep. But a lot of people love Quagmire, though it might mean different things about you. Let's start with the obvious one. You've probably got a dirtier sense of humor than most.
Yeah! All right, who wants me to stow my bag under their seat?
Quagmire is easily the source of a lot of the show's edgier humor, and that could be why you gravitate towards him. You like to push boundaries for a laugh, even if it might make a few people uncomfortable. After all, those people are just thin-skinned snowflakes who don't know how to take a joke, right? Unlike me, someone who thinks you can joke about anything except that one thing I don't like to be joked about. But regardless, you're the one in the group to let a joke rip that makes the rest of the gang go quiet and wonder if it's still worth taking you out in public anymore.
Ladies, this is your pilot speaking. I am in the full, upright, and locked position.
And with that dirtier mind comes perhaps a borderline obsession with doing the dirty. Your mind is most likely in the gutter 24/7, but the severity of this probably ranges from person to person. Quagmire is known to act on his impulses and make it his entire personality, but I'm gonna hope that you at least know how and when to rein it in.
Yeah, I'm closing down the whole street. It's gonna be like a block party, but with way more weirdos grinding up against your wives.
There are definitely levels to these kinds of things. Now, I'm not gonna throw words like addicted or criminal degenerate around mostly because they're words and aren't physical things that can be touched and thrown. But just because you like this aspect of Quagmire doesn't necessarily mean you share in his depraved tendencies. You might just think jokes about bumping uglies are the funniest thing in the world, and that's okay too. So whether you have getting laid on the brain all the time or just think someone saying the word genital is the funniest thing in the world, both spectrums are all welcome under the umbrella that is Quagmire.
Ladies and gentlemen, my 1000th sexual conquest is this largemouth bass.
But it's not all dirtiness that comes with being a Quagmire fan. Like an onion or ogre, Quagmire has a lot more layers to him, and one of them is that he does not like putting up with BS. Quagmire fans might find themselves with little patience for anything they find grating or unnecessary, kind of fulfilling the cranky old man role of the friend group.
Who brings a dog to a coffee shop?
I love dogs.
Without letting me pet it.
Sure, you're able to put on a brave face, gritting your teeth and smiling while going along with something if it really matters to someone. But your patience has limits, and if something isn't self-serving to you, you'll make your frustrations known. That's an honest and respectable trait, but it also makes you look like a bit of a douche sometimes. But maybe you don't care if you do, which I guess is respectable. Just don't act surprised or shocked when you don't get invited to things anymore.
I'll concede that you were right, but you know what? So was I. Dogs are the worst.
And to expand upon that, you always stay true to yourself. You may find yourself changing or bending to fit other people's expectations, but that never lasts long. You know what kind of fish you are, and you'll be damned if you let someone make you try to climb a tree.
It's 2019. Time-tested jokes like that are now offensive and not funny at all.
That being said, you are willing to make some changes to yourself if it's to the benefit of someone you care about. Your loved ones are your anchor, and while you don't feel as though you need to put up with the rest of the world's nonsense, you'll go through whole personality changes just to appease the ones you hold close. But the dam has gotta burst eventually. You can only change so much about yourself until the old you, the true you, finds a way to claw its way back out. Which isn't a bad thing. There's no point in lying to yourself about who you are, even if it's in service to your loved ones.
I'm not dead! I'm Quagmire! Glenn Quagmire! Giggity giggity!
There's definitely a lot to unpack with being a Quagmire fan, as there are many different aspects to him that could make someone a fan. At the base level, he's a representation of those who like to go dirty and dark with their humor, with there being no line that can't be crossed. But on the flip side, you could be someone who stays true to themselves and won't even attempt to pretend they're having a good time if they're not. And then there's the Griffin's loyal pet, Brian Griffin. Alongside Peter and Stewie, Brian's probably up there with being one of the most popular characters in the show, although the characterization of Brian has changed a lot over the years. Perhaps having a funny talking animal being your favorite is enough for you, but let's look a little bit deeper to see if there's anything we can't overanalyze. Maybe you're like Brian, where you talk a big game. You really want to be perceived as smart with surface-level knowledge of things like literature, but as soon as you're pressed to go deeper, you freeze.
And sense and sensibility, very similar words. But there is a difference there.
Look, I get it. Nobody wants to be seen as dumb, but that doesn't mean you have to be seen as smart either. There's a good middle ground for most people to fall into, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because honestly, sometimes the smarter you try to seem, the dumber you intend to sound. You may even know that deep down you aren't the smartest one in the room, but dang it, you're gonna get some points for trying.
See, honey? I told you he wasn't secretly a stupid alcoholic fraud.
But there are probably a few things you actually do know a bit about, and you take pride in that knowledge you possess. Maybe a little too much pride? It's good to have a little bit of confidence, but having a strong sense of pride doesn't make your dookie stink any less.
Wait for the look. And that's why it works.
Brian is essentially the living embodiment of the phrase "it insists upon itself." Somehow, he manages to take the minor talent or knowledge he possesses and blows it up to humongous proportions, or at least big enough to come across as an expert on the matter. Sure, he's read a few books, but that doesn't immediately make someone a good writer. Maybe you feel some sort of connection to Brian on that front, even if you don't want to admit it. Either that, or you just like to see pseudo-intellectuals get brought down a peg. In that case, maybe Brian's my favorite character too.
What's your process?
Oh, God, Allison, how do I even answer that? What's a rainbow's process?
But loving Brian might also make you the hopeless romantic type, destined to chase true happiness in vapid relationships, hoping that someday the right one will come along. Luckily for most of you, you aren't in the twilight years of your life, so you probably aren't going to feel as rushed as Brian. But still, you can't help but wonder when the right one will come along, or if the right one has already gotten away from you.
This is about you still being in love with Jillian.
How do you know that?
Because I'm smarter than you, Brian.
It's hard to say if Brian really fumbled the ball with Jillian, as it's up for debate if he truly could have been happy with someone on a completely different side of the intellectual spectrum. Maybe if the day comes when he accepts he's a lot closer to Jillian's brains than he thinks, he'll realize that, but it looks like that ship has sailed. But regardless, this relationship seemingly continues to haunt Brian to this day, and it's possible people might empathize with that. You dream of the fairy tale ending you believe everyone is meant to have, but you haven't found the secret to it just yet. Well, keep on trying, and soon enough, something's bound to come your way. And maybe just stay off any part of the internet that uses the words incel, looks-maxing, and mogging in a positive light.
I mean, I thought you were my soul train, but you didn't want me.
Soulmate.
Soul food?
But like most dogs, Brian is eternally loyal to the ones he loves, and it's traits like that which make him an honorable choice as someone's favorite. Man's best friend has always been admired for their tendency to stick through thick and thin, and it's a trait that more humans probably should be adopting. You may see yourself as one of those kinds of people, willing to go through immense self-sacrifice in order to help those you hold closest.
I'll do it. I'll give you my kidneys.
But Brian, you'll die.
Yeah, but what a novel this kind of sacrifice would make, especially if Brian isn't around to be the one to write it. Okay, maybe you don't have to sacrifice yourself for someone else's life, but this level of loyalty probably still resonates with you. There are people in your life who have given you so much, and if there ever comes a time when you can pay them back tenfold, you're sure you would do it.
We had a lot of good years together, right?
Yeah, we sure did, buddy.
So Brian's a mix of the good and the bad, which honestly makes him pretty human when you think about it. If he's your favorite character, you might enjoy seeing smugness brought down a peg, or you may find yourself relating to his flaws as you see a little bit of himself in you. But for all your pride and ego, you still believe in loyalty and love. And that makes you a good boy. A very good boy. A very good boy who needs to stop licking himself, or you'll make the hair on that spot go thin. But maybe you're one of the millions of people who gravitate towards arguably Family Guy's most popular character, Stewie Griffin. And what's not to love? A genius baby with a bunch of contraptions who also enjoys a little cross-dressing? That boy's keeping the lights on a Hot Topic for a decade. It's possible that you like him for just being a funny little character, but there are probably some specifics you gravitate towards. Maybe you're under the impression that you too are the brains in your social circles.
I hate you! You always ruin everything! God, it's a family of idiots!
Stewie was kind of the Rick Sanchez before Rick Sanchez was a thing. Massive superiority complex, constantly thinking you're the smartest person in the room. It might be true, but you saying that just sets you up to look like the biggest donkey the next time you do something stupid. But someone's gotta be the brains of this operation, and that someone might just be you. You just don't gotta be such a jerk about it.
You imbeciles! You ruined my night! I asked for one thing in this house!
But there is such a thing as being too smart for your own good, and Stewie often falls into that camp. Sure, you may be smart, but it's often your intelligence causing more harm than good, and every now and then it comes back to bite you on the butt. So if you're in the process of building a time machine or a gene splicing device, maybe now's the time to quit while you're ahead.
I think taking out that DNA turned you into a regular baby. Ha! Should've watched Splice, bro.
And with the heightened intelligence comes the superiority complex of believing you're never wrong. Smart people are never incorrect. If they were, then they wouldn't be smart. It really is pretty simple when you think about it. So if you relate to Stewie over your own perceived intelligence, maybe it wouldn't kill you to take a step back, take a look in the mirror, and realize that maybe some of your problems could be self-inflicted.
Any last words before I go in?
Yeah, don't you think you're being a little dramatic?
Yes, thank you.
But while you may hide behind your genius and your pragmatism, deep down you might actually care a great deal about the people in your life. Maybe this love doesn't show itself in person all that much, but it doesn't change the fact that you have very strong emotions. It's 2026, you're allowed to show people you care about things. Not caring about stuff doesn't make you the cool, tough little kid you think you are.
My life was considerably better with my family around, and I didn't realize it until it was too late.
Perhaps you believe that as the self-proclaimed smartest person in the room, you aren't designed for deeper emotions like love and joy. But the only one putting those limitations in place is yourself. And why'd you listen to that guy? He thinks he's so smart talking about equations like other people talk about sports. That's what smart people talk about, right? Guess I just outed myself as the dumb guy in the friend group. But regardless, Stewie often doesn't say what he really feels until it's all too late, so take this as your notice to make your heart heard while you still can.
I promise with all my heart that I'll never say or do anything bad to you for the rest of the evening.
And Stewie fans probably have that one person they really like. Their ride or die, their pillar of clarity, their punching bag they can always rely on to take a few swings. The other person doesn't have to be happy they're the punching bag either, they're just fulfilling one of the many pieces of the circle of life. Stewie has his Brian, and if you're a big fan of Stewie, chances are you probably have a Brian in your life as well. Literally. It's a very common name.
What would I do if you weren't here? You're the only one who makes my life bearable.
You've probably got that one friend who means the world to you, but you probably don't show it often. Maybe it's because you're embarrassed to say it out loud, or you're afraid they won't reciprocate your feelings, but deep down you feel such a strong sense of caring for them. Well, I think people should tell others how much they mean to them more often. Nothing wrong with a little sincerity in this irony-obsessed world. And if that buddy just so happens to be your dog, by all means, tell them how good a dog they are. But if that is the case, it would make a lot more sense why you think you're so smart when all you do is hang out with a dog.
I don't really care for anybody else, just you. You're the only one I like.
So if Stewie happens to be your favorite, chances are you're drawn to his snarkiness and confidence that comes with his intellectual superiority. But deep down, there's a softer side to you that could come out if you'd only let it. Let your inner baby be free. Roll around on the ground. Put stuff in your mouth. Poop your pants. That's what washing machines were invented for anyway. So now that we've broken all these down, which character do you identify the most with? Let us know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already to catch even more great Family Guy videos. And if you have a suggestion for topics you'd like to see us cover in the future, be sure to let us know that too.